If you're diving into Saint Seiya EX for the first time, you're probably already feeling that mix of nostalgia and hype. The game is an action RPG that retells the classic anime story arcs in a fast, mission-based format, and the best part is collecting all those iconic characters. But with so many choices and limited resources, it can be tough to know who's actually worth building and who's better left on the bench. That's exactly why this video exists. Today, we're breaking down the Saint Seiya EX character roster with a clean, no-nonsense tier list and a quick reroll guide to help you start strong. Whether you want to dominate early missions or build the perfect late-game squad, I've got you covered. Let's jump in and see which characters deserve your attention. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking characters in Saint Seiya EX. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Dragon Shiryu, Unicorn Jabu, Bear Geki, Hydra Ichi, Cassios, Kiki, Black Dragon, Black Andromeda, Black Swan, and Black Pegasus. You ever look at a character and think, buddy, you tried your best, and that is what truly matters? Well, welcome to the wonderfully tragic world of the C tier in Saint Seiya EX, where everyone has heart, a few have potential, and none of them are going to stay on your team longer than a tutorial screen. Let's talk about the heroes you use for 5 minutes and then replace the moment a shiny, super rare unit drops into your lap. Let's start with Dragon Shiryu, who really does his best to be your early game frontline hero. He is a tank standing strong in the front row using physical damage and even brings some crowd control to the table. He also combos nicely with Pegasus Seiya, making him the noble defender of your budget squad. The problem? He gets outclassed so fast that he practically speedruns retirement. Once you get your first proper tank, he becomes a motivational poster. Do not give up, even if everyone replaces you. Next up is Unicorn Jabu, the front row warrior who loves knocking things into the sky like he is hosting a one-man juggling act. He has physical damage, he has some crowd control, he even has team bonuses with other low-rarity characters. And yet every time you use him, you are just painfully aware that he is basically a discount Pegasus Seiya. He is the store brand cereal of Saint Seiya EX. It is fine, but you know what you are missing. Bear Geki strolls in ready to stun the entire world. His kit is basically one big stop right there button. As a tank, he stands in front, uses physical damage, and brings solid stalling potential. Unfortunately, he hits about as hard as a gentle breeze. Amazing utility, zero punch. He is that friend who gives great advice but cannot help you move furniture. Then we have Hydra Ichi, a front row warrior using mental damage. He feels like he was almost designed to be interesting. He works pretty well with Pisces Aphrodite, so you think, hey, maybe he is secretly good. But his poison needs so much assistance that it is like babysitting a toddler with crayons. And since the game hands you Pisces Aphrodite for free on your second day, his role as a placeholder lasts about as long as a cup of noodles. Cassios is another tank standing tall in the front row with physical damage and lots of knockups. He is basically a walking keep away sign for enemies. Solid, dependable, surprisingly sturdy. The issue is that he does absolutely nothing unique. He is just a wall, a big wall, a proud wall, but still, a wall. And in Saint Seiya EX, you will eventually find a shinier, spikier, cooler wall. Now let us talk about Kiki, our supportive back row mental damage friend who really wants to help. He lowers enemy defense, boosts the critical rate of your backline, and tries his hardest to matter. But his healing is weak, his damage is meh, and he gets replaced faster than expired milk. Nice kid, wrong game. Black Dragon appears looking like he should be part of some powerful burn team. You see the name, you get excited, you start imagining fiery combos, and then he is just a normal physical damage tank in the front row with crowd control and self-buffs. He even heals himself a bit, but the damage is non-existent, and the dream of a flame-themed synergy dies instantly. He is not bad, he is just not the dragon you ordered. Black Andromeda steps in as a back row archer dealing physical damage. He can hit multiple targets and even apply bleed, which sounds awesome. And then you realize he wastes 2 skill slots trying to keep himself alive instead of shooting things. It is like picking an archer who spends most of his time reading shield manuals. Black Swan is a mid-row supporter dealing mental damage who focuses on freezing enemies and slowing their attack speed with frigid air. That sounds strong, and in the right Dark Fighter team, she actually does her job well. But outside that specific lineup, there are simply better supporters everywhere. She's the kind of character that says, I am special, but only on Tuesdays, and only with very specific people. And finally, we have Black Pegasus, a front-row warrior using physical damage who exists almost entirely to enable the Dark Fighter bonus with Black Phoenix. Inside that team, sure, he is fine. Outside of it, he contributes about as much as a decorative statue. You put him in battle and immediately wonder why 6 stronger characters are not standing where he is. So that is the grand tour of the C tier. Lovable, sometimes functional, occasionally funny, but absolutely destined to be replaced. They are the side characters in your Saint Seiya EX journey. Memorable enough to talk about, but not memorable enough to keep. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Ophiuchus Shayna, Guilty, Eagle Marine, Crojamion, Sagitta Ptolemy, Lizard Misty, Perseus Algol, Chameleon June, Cetus Moses, Hound Asterion, Pegasus Seiya, Andromeda Shun, and Cygnus Hyoga. There is something funny about the B tier in Saint Seiya EX. These characters walk into battle like, I am not the strongest, but I swear I can be useful. And honestly, they can. They shine early on, they help you push through the story, and they might even stick around longer than you expect, especially if they happen to pair well with a top-tier hero. But eventually, you will look at them and whisper, thank you for your service, before sending them to the bench. Let us kick things off with Ophiuchus Shayna, who arrives in the mid-row dealing mental damage and looking like she is done with everyone's nonsense. Her poison cuts both health and healing, making enemies sustain vanish instantly. She also dodges like she is in a completely different timeline, and knocks enemies down just to remind them that she is still in charge. She is genuinely strong early on and still decent later, just overshadowed when the heavy hitters show up. Next is Guilty, the front row physical warrior who believes the best way to deal with defense is to ignore it entirely. His true damage and burn effects tear through tanky enemies, and he even heals himself when attacking targets who are burning. The catch? If the enemy has a massive pool of health, his damage starts feeling more polite warning than serious threat. Now let us talk about Eagle Marin, the front row physical warrior with a talent for knocking people into next week. She mixes stuns with rapid attacks, and when her Eagle Peck skill decides to behave, she dishes out some seriously spicy damage. The only issue is consistency. At low star levels, Eagle Peck triggers like a stubborn vending machine button. But when it works, it works. Crojamion enters the mid-row with mental damage and a whole flock of trouble. His summoned crows do the attacking while he stays busy keeping himself alive. He can even heal the front line at the cost of his own health. But thanks to his incredible lifesteal, he barely notices. It is like he is running his own little ecosystem in the middle of your battlefield. Sagitta Ptolemy lurks in the back row as a physical archer who turns invisible whenever things look suspicious. This makes him surprisingly survivable, and his damage increases while hidden. He also marks enemies to reduce their dodge chance, which is incredibly useful. But if his rapid-fire skill does not trigger, his damage turns into a gentle tap on the shoulder, and he struggles hard against summoned units, which can ruin his rhythm. Time for Lizard Misty, the mid-row physical supporter who fully believes that mental damage is the real enemy. She gives herself and her allies mental defense shields that heal every second. This makes her a lifesaver against mental-heavy teams. She can push and knock down enemies as well. Her only downside is that her own damage is basically decorative. She is here to support, not to flex. Perseus Algol steps onto the front line as a mental damage tank specializing in turning enemies into statues. Almost everything he does inflicts petrify or bind. His crowd control is excellent, and he absorbs hits especially well when facing mental damage opponents. But wow, his damage output is low, even for a tank. He is here to annoy enemies, not destroy them. Chameleon June sits comfortably in the mid-row as a physical damage supporter who wants to do everything. She heals allies, shields them, reduces incoming damage, binds enemies, and somehow also throws out damage of her own. She is like a Swiss Army knife, incredibly versatile, just not necessarily great at any single job. Still, her flexibility makes her very handy. Cetus Moses marches forward as a physical damage tank with one simple philosophy. The longer I am here, the harder I am to kill. Every 8 seconds he gets more damage reduction, and it stacks until the end of the fight. Combine that with self-sustain and knockdowns, and he becomes a slow burn wall of frustration. He is straightforward and not flashy, but reliable in a way some teams desperately need. Hound Asterion is a back row mental archer who brings trickery, chaos, and illusions to the battlefield. He can summon phantom doppelgangers that tank hits for him and boost the power of his ultimate. On top of that, he weakens enemies by lowering their defense and hit rate. He is sneaky, disruptive, and surprisingly dangerous when set up properly. Now let us appreciate Pegasus Seiya, the early game superstar who joins your team at the start and upgrades easily as you progress through the story. He deals physical damage from the front row and brings strong bonuses with Phoenix Iki and Evil Saga, making him the anchor of many free-to-play teams. Even after you get stronger characters, you might keep him around purely out of respect. Andromeda Shun is the back row physical supporter who joins right after Pegasus Seiya. He heals, he buffs, he binds enemies, and he pairs beautifully with Seiya through his team bonus. Early game, he is fantastic. Later game, he still has value as a utility tool, even if more powerful supporters eventually overshadow him. Finally, we have Cygnus Hyoga, a mid-row mental supporter who is part tank, part healer, part controller, and part please stop hitting my teammates. He freezes enemies, binds them, shields allies, and synergizes extremely well with Aquarius Camus. The issue is that his damage is awful, and he cannot protect himself despite being in the middle of the fight. Great utility, questionable survival instincts. The B tier may not be filled with world shakers, but these characters carry you through early and mid-game with surprising consistency. They are loyal, dependable, and occasionally amazing, just not enough to stand against the true monsters in the higher tiers. But hey, everyone has to start somewhere, right? The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Awakened Shiryu, Pope Ares, Taurus Aldebaran, Sagittarius Ilos, Pisces Aphrodite, Scorpio Milo, Capricorn Shura, Aquarius Camus, Sagittarius Seiya, Phoenix Iki, and Black Phoenix. There is something magical about a tier characters in Saint Seiya EX. They walk into the battlefield like, I am not the strongest in the universe, but I could definitely bench press a small moon. These units are powerful, reliable, and often just one synergy away from becoming absolute monsters. They might not have the raw dominance of S-tier units, but when you build around them, they shine bright enough to make you question why you even need anyone stronger. Awakened Shiryu kicks things off from the front row with physical damage and enough knock-up effects to make enemies feel like they are stuck in a malfunctioning elevator. He hits hard, controls the battlefield, and his repost skill is basically him saying, "Try me," and then immediately punishing anyone foolish enough to do so. Even when he dies, he refuses to leave quietly. He stays just long enough to land one last powerful strike, taking someone down with him out of pure spite. Pope Ares floats into the back row as a mental damage supporter who brings pure chaos. He can banish enemies or force them to attack their own allies through the defect effect, and if that was not enough, he starts summoning units to fight on your behalf. He buffs them, buffs other summons, and works beautifully with Evil Saga. If you like controlling the battlefield while watching enemies panic, Pope Ares is your guy. Now comes Taurus Aldebaran, the undisputed king of tanks. He parks himself in the front row, deals physical damage, and knocks enemies backward with basically everything he does, including his basic attack. His Iaido defense ability is bonkers, giving him massive damage reduction, immunity to control effects, and powering up his other skills. He is not just a wall, he is a wall with rocket boosters. Sagittarius Ilos joins from the safety of the back row, firing physical damage arrows like he personally dislikes the concept of enemies existing. He stays so far behind that reaching him becomes a full-time job for your opponents. When paired with Sayori Kido, his already high attack grows even stronger, and his ultimate transforms into a devastating upgraded version. The only downside is that he brings no utility, just an overwhelming amount of pain. Pisces Aphrodite appears next, dealing mental damage from the back row and turning every fight into a poison festival. Nearly all of her skills apply poison, even her basic attack. She increases the poison damage enemies take from everyone, not just herself. She thrives in long battles, stacking toxins until late-game enemies simply collapse under the weight of her Scarlet Rose skill, which deals true damage based on total poison stacks. Elegant, deadly, and disrespectfully effective. Scorpio Milo steps in as a mental damage archer whose entire kit screams, "I will hit you harder every minute this fight lasts." His Crimson Scar effect increases the damage enemies take and enhances his other abilities. He even has some self-healing. The only catch is that some of his skills rely on luck, so sometimes he hits like a meteor and sometimes like a mildly annoyed mosquito. Capricorn Shura slices into the mid-row, dealing physical damage and parrying attacks with style. When he parries, he triggers Excalibur Flurry, delivering extra hits and becoming invincible for a moment. That window of invincibility can completely flip a fight. He also has the ability to silence enemies, forcing them to use only basic attacks and passive effects, which is incredibly strong against skill-heavy opponents. Aquarius Camus arrives as a mid-row mental supporter who treats the battlefield like his personal ice rink. He constantly applies freeze to enemies, reducing their impact dramatically. He also provides mental damage reduction to allies and has a special move that freezes an ally in danger, rendering them immune to damage while healing them over time. It is the ultimate panic button, and it saves lives more often than you would expect. Sagittarius Seiya comes from the back row as a physical warrior who adapts himself to the situation. He changes the effects of his skills depending on what the team needs, increasing his sustain or pumping out more damage as required. He also deals increased damage to bosses, making him a fantastic pick for late-game content and guild battles. Phoenix Icky rises in the mid-row as a mental damage archer and one of the easiest strong units to fully upgrade thanks to the 7-day special training mission. His mobility is excellent. He stuns and knocks down enemies constantly, and when he dies, he simply refuses to stay dead. He revives himself, deals damage as he comes back, and applies burn. Classic Icky behavior. Black Phoenix closes things out as a mid-row mental mage who brings an Inferno with him. Nearly all of his skills apply burn, and for every burning enemy, he gets more attack power. The longer the battle lasts, the harder he hits. His burns scale beautifully, turning him into a late-game menace who takes over fights slowly but surely. A-tier units are not just strong, they are dependable powerhouses that thrive when placed in the right team. If S-tier characters are the kings and queens of Saint Seiya EX, these A-tier heroes are the Royal Knights, loyal, deadly, and always ready to carry your team into victory. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Evil Saga, Cancer Death Mask, Gemini Saga, Leo Iolia, Iris Mu, Virgo Shaka, and Saori Kido. S-tier characters in Saint Seiya EX are basically the rock stars of your roster. They walk in, the battlefield shivers, and enemies start reconsidering their life choices. These units can carry you through the early game almost solo and are worth every single resource you throw at them. If you are thinking about re-rolling for a strong start, these are the stars you want shining in your lineup. Evil Saga takes center stage as a mid-row hybrid mage who does everything. He dishes out both physical and mental damage, making him a nightmare for every enemy type. His skills stun and banish foes, keeping the battlefield under his control. After each ultimate, he enters a frenzied state, rapidly unleashing skills like a tornado of destruction. Investing in him is basically investing in guaranteed chaos. Cancer Death Mask lurks in the back row as a mental mage with a graveyard army at his disposal. He summons undead creatures that swarm enemies and dominate the field. Every time a non-saint unit dies, he gains stacks of Sekishiki, boosting his attack indefinitely. He is the ultimate snowballing menace. Once he starts, stopping him is basically impossible. Gemini Saga storms the front row as a hybrid warrior and a crowd control nightmare. His ultimate deals insane damage, while his passive makes him nearly immune to control effects. He also cleanses debuffs and damage over time effects, making him ridiculously hard to bring down. His high rage generation means his ultimate is ready more often than you can blink. Leo Iolia is the front row physical warrior you want in every fight. His self-sustain is unmatched thanks to invincibility windows, barriers, and constant knockups. If he drops below 40% health, he gains insane attack speed and lifesteal, healing while decimating enemies. His lightning chain procs deliver excellent area of effect damage, turning every engagement into a thrilling storm of destruction. Ares' move floats in as a mid-row mental supporter who is basically the team's guardian angel. He heals while dealing solid damage and cleanses allies from any negative effects. Every heal increases attack, and he also reduces enemy attack while providing barriers. He is the definition of utility on steroids and keeps your team alive in ways no one else can. Virgo Shaka is a mid-row mental mage whose damage is impressive, especially against non-saint units. While dealing heavy damage, he also heals himself and allies, focusing on those suffering from debuffs. Every 15 seconds, he gains a shield that grants immunity to skill damage and effects, making him both dangerous and incredibly durable. Saori Kido completes the S-tier lineup as a back-row mental supporter who arrives for free, but you will probably love her like you paid a fortune. She heals the most vulnerable allies, buffs attack based on rage, and can even revive a fallen teammate once per battle. She does not hit hard herself, but the sheer utility she provides makes her invaluable in almost any team composition. I know what you are thinking. Why does getting my first shiny character in a mobile game feel more intense than choosing a starter Pokemon? Trust me, Saint Seiya EX makes that first Saint recruitment feel like a life decision, and that is exactly why players dive into re-rolling. The good news? The game literally gives you a beginner-only banner called the Wayfarer Recruitment Banner, where every single 10 pull guarantees one super rare unit. Even better, you can keep pulling over and over until you find the dream set of characters you want. It is basically a casino where the house wants you to win. The process is simple, and more importantly, fast. Start the game in guest mode. Do not link your email unless you actually love the results, and then blast through the tutorial until you hit level 7. After some forced battles, you finally unlock the recruit menu. Head to your in-game mailbox, grab every reward inside, and you will find your precious Wayfarer Recruit vouchers. Now you can enter the Wayfarer Recruitment banner and start throwing 10 pulls like you are raining gold in the sanctuary. Each 10 pull drops one guaranteed super rare, and the game saves every single 10 pull you make into a lockbox. This means even if you hit something amazing early, keep pulling until your vouchers run out. You will choose the best result afterward anyway. Most players will get plenty of chances to land what they want, but if your luck decides to take a vacation, there is a reset trick. Just switch servers, create a new guest account, and the game wipes your old progress clean. Still, do I think you should restart your entire account? Honestly, no. Every super rare unit in Saint Seiya EX is genuinely strong, and you will receive Pisces Aphrodite on day 2, plus a full super rare selector on day 7 and day 14. So whether you pull your dream saint right now or later, you will be rocking a top-tier team in no time. Enjoy the grind, enjoy the chaos, and may your rerolls be blessed by Athena herself. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.